The 1980s saw a fierce cultural clash between heavy metal music and conservative religious groups, as well as politicians. This conflict was fueled by the genre's provocative themes, which included rebellion, dark imagery, and sometimes references to the occult. Organizations like the Parents Music Resource Center, PMRC, co-founded by Tipper Gore, targeted heavy metal bands, accusing them of promoting violence, drug use, and satanic messages. The PMRC's infamous Filthy 15 list, featuring artists like Judas Priest and Twisted Sister, highlighted songs deemed inappropriate for youth. This led to Senate hearings in 1985, where musicians like Dee Snider of Twisted Sister defended artistic freedom. Religious groups, on the other hand, launched public burnings of heavy metal records, claimed the genre contained hidden satanic messages when played backward, backmasking, and held rallies to denounce its influence. Politicians echoed these sentiments, advocating for censorship and parental advisory labels on albums. Despite the backlash, heavy metal's popularity grew, with bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden thriving. The era highlighted a broader generational divide over freedom of expression and cultural values. This cultural war cemented heavy metal as a defiant voice for youth and artistic freedom. Here is a little more on the people involved. The war between heavy metal music and religious groups' politicians in the 1980s involved key figures, organizations, and iconic moments. Here's an expanded overview. The PMRC and Tipper Gore. The Parents Music Resource Center, PMRC, founded in 1985 by Tipper Gore, wife of then-Senator Al Gore, Susan Baker, and other prominent Washington wives, was central to the anti-metal movement. They pushed for parental advisory labels on albums containing explicit content. The PMRC's infamous Filthy 15 list targeted songs like We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister for violence, Eat Me Alive by Judas Priest for sexual content, Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue for alleged satanic themes. Politicians involved. Al Gore supported Tipper Gore's efforts, giving the PMRC additional political weight. Senator Strom Thurmond, a vocal critic of heavy metal and rock music, advocating for stricter regulations. Religious leaders and groups. Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority. Falwell's televangelist organization spearheaded campaigns accusing heavy metal bands of promoting Satanism and corrupting youth. Bob Larson, a Christian radio host and preacher, frequently railed against heavy metal, claiming it was a tool of the devil. Evangelical leaders organized public demonstrations, including record burnings. The Senate hearings, 1985. The PMRC's lobbying led to the U.S. Senate hearings on rock lyrics in September 1985. Several musicians testified to defend their art. Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, argued that his music was misunderstood and rejected censorship. Frank Zappa delivered a sharp critique of the PMRC, labeling their efforts as a threat to free speech. John Denver surprisingly sided with the musicians, defending artistic freedom. Key musicians and bands targeted Ozzy Osbourne, often accused of Satanism due to his stage antics and songs like Mr. Crowley and Suicide Solution. Judas Priest, sued for allegedly including subliminal messages in their music, blamed for a suicide pact by two fans. Iron Maiden, accused of Satanism for their album The Number of the Beast. Motley Crue, faced backlash for their hedonistic and rebellious imagery. Cultural fallout. The conflict resulted in the introduction of the parental advisory label, but it also fueled the rebellious allure of heavy metal. The genre thrived, becoming a symbol of resistance to censorship and authority. This clash not only shaped heavy metal's identity, but also underscored tensions between conservative values and freedom of expression in the 1980s. Today, many heavy metal bands' lyrics and music are stories of personal feelings and the struggles of life, and many still fight for the freedom of expression and speech. Thanks to those band who stood and fought for the freedom for today's heavy metal music.